Hello there, it's Jaymz Bee. Welcome to my podcast. It is Friday, September 6th, 2019. That's today. Now, you could be watching this in 2025. How's the climate for you? This may be online for a long, long time is what I'm saying. Anyway, this Friday, lots of things happening in town all week long. So I'm going to tell you because, September, everybody's back to work, back to school, and the clubs are happening. And in a little bit, I have a special guest. She is beautiful. She's smart. She's funny, she's really talented, and she's Jordana Talsky. So she'll be along in just a moment to talk about her career and her amazing music. But first, here are some things that maybe you want to do in the next week if you're in the Toronto area. And if not, you could skip ahead 5 minutes and you'll get right to the interview with Jordana. Tonight at the Old Mill Inn, it's the Canadian Jazz Quartet. These guys are phenomenal. Don Vickery and the boys have been playing for decades. They are super tight and they're never the same. They just call out songs and play them. They have a huge, hundreds of jazz standards, these guys know. And their special guest is Mike Murley on saxophone. Old Mill, Toronto, Homesmith Bar, 7:30 to 10:30. Never a cover, $20 minimum. So have a couple drinks or a drink and a bite to eat. And your tickety-boo. On Saturday, Rosemary Galloway Quartet is playing. This great bassist is joined by Jane Fair on sax, Amanda Tossoff on piano, and Ethan Ardelli on the drums. So Friday, Saturday, Old Mill, Toronto's Homesmith Bar. At Hughes Room Live tonight, it's Alfie Zappacosta. I mentioned him last week. He's written songs for Loverboy. He's written songs for the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. He's really an accomplished songwriter and has a beautiful voice. It's a romantic thing, so bring someone you love and have a nice dinner at Hughes Room tonight. Sunday, it's Friends of Fiddler's Green, a 10-piece plus ensemble of singers and musicians. They've been playing folk music for 40 years all around North America. And Sue Foley is on Monday night, and then Thursday it's Indo Slide. Don Ross and other masters of the slide guitar. So it sounds like a lot of cool stuff happening. HughesRoomLive.com. And then Jazz Bistro, Colin Hunter with the Joe Seeley Quartet. Now, he's there once a month holding court, Friday, Saturday, and seeing Colin and Joe Seeley. If you love the Vegas style of music, he sings all the hits, the Sinatra, Tony Bennett, all that stuff. And be sure to get food there because the food is delicious. September 11th, David Rubel Quartet. He's a great sax player with a young happening band, and it's like a curated jazz jam because after they do a set, they bring out a bunch of guests. So that sounds cool. And September 12th, it's the James Brown Trio, and I'm talking about the renowned guitarist that teaches at the Royal Conservatory, not the James Brown who goes, hit me, not that guy, the other one. Lula Lounge tonight, Havana Club Friday kicks off with Tio Chorino. This is an old style group. They look great, they sound great, they're super happy. And what do you want Friday night? Have dinner and enjoy some great Cuban music. Yanni Burrell and DJ Suave take over after that. So dance music, Cuban dance music, and a great DJ, live band. Everything's going on at Lula on Fridays. Saturdays, Salsa Saturdays. That's Santiago Velasquez. He's performing. And Thursday, it's R&B night. Songs by Earth, Wind and Fire, Luther Vandross, Chaka Khan. I don't do that very well. Anyway, lots of R&B stuff happening Thursday over at Lula Lounge, lula.ca for information. I should tell you on Thursday the 19th, Jazz FM has a one-stop vocal jazz safari. Might be sold out by now. I think there was 4 or 5 tickets left last I checked. 120 people are going to be enjoying 24 singers in a 3-hour showcase. It's a $250 donation. You get a tax receipt for the full amount. Donate to Jazz FM and you get to see this incredible showcase. We've done over 30 of them. I've actually lost count how many times we have done this in the last 10 years. But it's a phenomenal show. Okay, in case you want to leave town, Southside Shuffle is at Port Credit this weekend, and Sudbury Jazz. Actually drive all the way to Sudbury and you can see Shuffle Demons, Heavyweights Brass Band, Allison Young, all kinds of great music up in Sudbury, Ontario. Say hi to the Big Nickel for me. And before I bring out Jordana, I want to thank Barbarian Steakhouse. I was there recently, and I tell you, if you want to go for a very special meal, beautiful old-style ambience, you want to be there. Paul Barber at barberfinancial.com. Thank you, Captain Paul. He's been sponsoring this. And if you have any financial questions, it doesn't matter, big or small. Just check out barberfinancial.com or .ca and let him know what you're thinking. Ask him some questions and tell him you know me. All right, so now we're going to Jordana Talsky. She is wonderful. And again, it's very early in the morning when I record these, so it'll be fun to see. Something tells me she won't have bedhead, though. She's very together. Anyway, here we go. Jordana Talsky. Hi, how are you?
Yo.
Hey.
Hey, yo.
So this is unusual. You normally would be interviewed in a recording studio or a radio station or TV, and here you are in my place.
We're in another dimension, aren't we?
We are in another dimension. I have some quick questions, Jordana. The first is your humble beginnings, because honestly, I've read on your site, I've read around, I don't know anything about your humble beginnings. Where did you come from?
My mother's womb. Toronto. I'm from here.
Wow, you're that person who was born and raised here.
I know.
I knew there was someone.
Yeah, and then I went away for school, but I've been here since.
Yeah. Oh, what school?
Went to McGill for undergrad. I went to Western for law school. Yeah.
Oh, one of those.
One of those guys.
There's several lawyers who became jazz musicians. What happened?
What happened? Well, I mean, it's not really a sexy story because I always knew it was music. But I didn't know, I didn't really have the wherewithal when I was younger to dream for myself, and I didn't have the confidence to really go for it, and I didn't know what to do. I studied English Lit, so the next logical thing was to just keep going. I was actually kind of dealing with some depression, and I wasn't able to think about what kind of life I wanted to lead and what kind of career would give me joy and fulfillment. So school was something I could do. Mm-hmm. Going to law school was like a logical thing to do to sort of, okay, I won't be any worse off for getting a law degree, and then maybe I'll figure things out. Mm-hmm. I just sort of hoped to myself. So I kind of just fell into it, which is not really a great answer for that. But
were you a singing lawyer? Did you have aspirations of singing in the court? Okay, never mind. When did you start singing? You're going to school, you're loving music. Mm-hmm. You're not going for it, but you're loving it. Mm-hmm. What are you listening to?
Well, how did it start?
Yeah, what was the inspiration of like, oh, I gotta sing?
It started when I was really young, and I got involved in a children's choir. Actually, Sophia was in the choir too, the Canadian Children's Opera Chorus.
Sophia Perlman?
Yep.
Cool.
That was like a big deal in my childhood, big learning experience. And then I went to a high school for the performing arts, and I was studying opera. And I trained in opera, and when I went to McGill, even though I didn't major in it, because I've always sort of had this, or at least before I gained the confidence, I was sort of being pulled and then going away from music. It was like push-pull and not really feeling the confidence. So anyways, even though I was studying English Lit, I was doing musical theater, like Gilbert and Sullivan Opera, and I was studying with the voice teachers there. So it never went away, but it was never, I didn't have the bravery to put it at the forefront until ...
And so you're doing law, you're doing lit, you're doing all these things, and then you decide enough of school. Was there a breaking point, or did you just say, I'm ready now, I'm moving on to singing?
I practiced law. I did it, I kept doing it. It's, you get out of school and then you have debt and then you're not sure yet. I wasn't at that stepping away point yet, so I practiced law. But I was juggling it with music. I was by then doing shows. I released the first album while I was still practicing. So it took a while. I'm kind of slow to move. It took a while for me to really hold firm in myself and say,
So are you one of those rare people that I've interviewed, anyway, in Toronto, that you didn't actually go to scale school? Did you?
That's right.
Right, wow. So you have all this other experience and things to fall back on that you probably will never have to because you're so fabulous. But so you get to Toronto, you're coming back from schools. How do you find a band? Mm-hmm.
GNO was the starting point.
Girls' Night Out?
Totally. Yes, it was.
Lisa Particelli Jazz Jam. So you show up and you just jump up and sing at an open mic?
Yes.
Wow. Well, those are good musicians that she has there.
That's where I met people and just started hearing more about the scene, and it just took off.
What year would have that been?
2010.
Yeah, okay. Well, you move fast. Now, you've already been up for several awards. And excuse me while I set up another second microphone for this one, okay? Do-do-do, do-do-do. There's a clock ticking. I can feel it. There we go. You've won a bunch of festivals, or nominated or finalists. What of all those contests meant the most to me? To you? I'm thinking Sarah Vaughan, maybe, because it's an actual place where you have to show up. Some of these are contests where you send in songs, and some you perform live, right?
I did then, and I did it, and I'm going to go for. I say I did that prematurely. I would have preferred to enter myself after I had gotten more experience, but that's a side note. I'm going to go with the John Lennon songwriting contest, because songwriting is like not the first thing. It's sort of not. I consider myself a new answer.
Okay.
I can do that better. I would have to go with the song, the songwriting award, because I consider myself to be novice. It's not something that came totally natural to me. So the fact that I can be working in that and be acknowledged for that.
Songwriting first. That's good.
Can I
like
more coffee,
that.
please?
I like that. I know, it's early in the morning. So the first album you put out, Standard Deviation.
Yeah.
Great idea. You came out with a lot of pop songs done jazz, right? Whether it's Sting or... But my favorite, of course, is the Bob Duro. You know, I've been playing that for years. Yeah. How did you come about picking pop songs and having the guts to arrange them? As a person who didn't study jazz, how did that go?
So I think that was like the precursor to songwriting, taking other material and trying to interpret it, bring my own flair to it. And the way it came about was just, I've got these different influences that span. And I think a lot of people would say I'm not a jazz singer, and that's fine. I think I'm a singer who sings jazz, and I like to think I'm versatile in different areas. And so it was just what was coming to me, what I was feeling was something with more of a funk groove or a pop groove, and I thought it would be interesting to kind of combine them and see where I could take it in different genres.
What about your vocal technique that's so unique? Whether you're looping or you're just kind of doing vocalese, who were influences to get you into that new genre of jazz?
That's a really good question. I think if it's unique, it's because the influences are very sort of disparate. Early influences would be technicians that I admired, like, well, Barbra Streisand, Ella Fitzgerald, and Frank Sinatra, like those early singers. But then later on, with my style of music that I was listening to, people like Fiona Apple and more straight singer, edgy singers who have interesting voices. Not that the other singers didn't, but where the focus was more on the delivery over the
technique, right, yeah.
So all of those kind of swirl together. And I'm like, musical theater and just powerful voices are the first thing that attracted me to voice.
It's amazing, and it's what makes you so unique is you're not musical theater, you're not just jazz, you're not just pop, you're not just technical. You have a blend of so many things, and particularly your love of loops lately, that now you have to be very technical when it comes to setting up before a gig. How's that involved?
Totally. Well, that is, I'm really into the looping. It's been a cool process because it requires me to be doing a lot of things at once. I'm taking more accountability, really. I'm like accompanying myself. It's my instrument. I do consider it a form of an instrument. So there's this whole other level of stuff that you're thinking about it in addition to the singing. The singing is the thing that you need to be really precise with to get those loops in. And then also understanding sound tech more, because you roll in with your equipment, you have to make sure that the venue is going to be appropriate for the sound, and using an earpiece. And I'm doing different things and learning about the technology. And there's a whole world, there's a whole universe of things to learn. And I think I had a bit of an aversion to learning. I know that sounds weird, but like scared to sort of dip your toe in something that you will inevitably, you'll fail at first. You have to fail a lot. And I sort of had to hold myself in that and be okay with failing for a while. So the whole journey of looping is really like, it's a journey with myself. It's about a lot of things, and it feels good and it feels challenging. And I'm gonna keep
And it's extremely musical. Your record, Neither or Either, which could be called Neither or Either.
neither of either.
Neither of either.
Right?
Yeah, that's a mouthful. But that new record, your songs like Run, there are songs on there where it's really heavy on the loop. Has that opened any new doors or closed any doors? Have you noticed any difference in?
I've been doing some a cappella festival. I've been working solo more, or solo duo. I recently toured in the States. I was playing a festival there and some cities, and so instead of bringing a jazz combo with me, because it's not really traditionally jazz, I was bringing me and a guitarist. It was just looping and guitars, and so yeah, the kinds of festivals, the kinds of audiences are changing, but I think that the music can speak to jazz fans and also pop fans, and hopefully it's inclusive. That's one of the things I want to do.
Cool. Well, it's working because we're playing some of your songs on Jazz FM that are pushing it just a little. It's not pop, it's still jazz, but there's a lot of pop sensibilities to it.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, of all your travels, do you have a favorite place?
Ooh!
You didn't know that one was coming, did you?
Favorite place? Well, I lived with a family in Nepal, and that was meaningful. That was cool. That was in between undergrad and law school. So Nepal, all of Southeast Asia. I actually did a semester of law school in Singapore, and while I was there, I was in Vietnam and where else? Everywhere there. Thailand, Borneo. Nature and animals and calm way of life. Those kinds of places, you know.
Very different than here, no
Very
doubt.
different, yeah.
When you say calm way of life, that's not Toronto.
Exactly. Yeah, and I need it. So yeah. I'm hoping I'll be able to tour and travel more.
You have Kensington Market Jazz Festival coming up. You must be excited about that.
Totally.
So, who asked you to play that? Because that's a very hard festival to get in. Even though there's a lot of musicians, there's a lot of good musicians, so it's hard to do.
The series, I guess, is being guest curated by Eric Saint Laurent. So there you go.
And he is not afraid of amazing singers. In fact, he's kind of drawn to them, like a fly to a light bulb.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, you're going to have a great trip there. Any favorite clubs in Toronto that you play? Because you've played so many.
That's a good question. I don't want to choose.
No?
No.
You don't have to say a favorite, because I'm thinking, I see you at Lula, at Hughes Room, at all different places, yeah.
Lula's great and Howard's great. I couldn't say. They're all different. I mean, it depends on different things. Depends on me, how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Poor answer.
No, you can have that.
Can I think about it?
You don't want to pick one favorite club, because
I don't think I have one favorite.
And what about the people you work with? Justin Avedon and Dawn Breithaupt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dawn, that's a great story. Do we have... No, I'm not going to tell this story.
Why?
Oh,
yeah, you have to. It's
I am.
internet.
I guess I am. So, Dawn... So, I got connected to Dawn through Justin, and Dawn lives in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I was down there visiting my sister, so we had a writing session together. Okay, I'm going to tell the story. And I had a rental car. And then I parked the car, I go to see him, we spent a few hours together. We ended up coming up with a song that was later on the album, that got on the album. And at the end of the session, he's like, hey, do you want me to walk your car? Do you remember where you parked? And I was like, yep, I remember, because I want to just, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm super. Couldn't find the car. Couldn't find the car for hours. Not joking. Did not, too much pride to go knock on his door and say, where's that car again? And then as the time passed, now it's like hours, like now you're going to look like a real fool. Couldn't find people on the street trying to help me find it, because by this time I was in tears. It was Venice Beach, I went to the beach and I was just like, this is a bad scene. Ended up taking Uber home to the valley where I was staying with my sister, and then later that night I called him up, I was like, I couldn't find my car, man. And he was like, what? Why didn't you go
Uber?
It was so funny that I took an Uber back, then he helped me find my car. It was there. It was still there. I didn't have a ticket or anything. I just couldn't find it. I kept circling the same blocks that were like one over from where... Anyways, so then I found it, and I was just really embarrassed, and now I've told everyone.
It's a whole new Dude, Where's My Car? You've got a musical coming out.
Okay, log that one.
Yeah.
So many stories like that.
Okay, so 2 albums. What do you think is going to be the third? What do you have coming up in your...
I am working on some songs, and I may want to do a full a cappella album with some programming, some light programming.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see you at Kensington Market.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Jordana Talsky, you gotta love her. Can't wait for the new record, but in the meantime, she has 2 records worth buying, so check her out. Next week, please join me another Friday for another round, and feel free to share this with Wild Joyous Event, and tell your friends there's an interview every week. Coming up in the next little bit, I'll be talking to some jazz legends and some young people you really should know. So stick around, come back each week, or go to jaymzbee.ca, and you can see all the old podcasts as well. All right, thanks. Bye.